Okay, so for the entire month of December, we always celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Okay, so this is our last Sunday where we're still in the Christmas energy. We're going to be de-decorating after church, and I know everybody wants to stay and help with that. But you know, after Christmas, everybody has the same question. How can I keep the energy of this beautiful light that I'm feeling going? The love, the peace, the excitement of the Christmas spirit. How do I keep that going throughout the year? And most of us manage a little bit, don't we? Maybe a couple weeks. And then we get, we get back into our routines. We get back into our work, and we get back into ourselves. And so we once again wait for Christmas. So today I wanted to look at some beautiful ways that we might walk forward a little higher. So, this is what I was given. Jesus Christ, fully awakened Christ, came to the not fully awakened Christs to remind them of the world that they lived in. So, Jesus Christ, the fully awakened, came to the not fully awakened to remind us of where we live. So as I was pondering his energy, I was guided to look up some of the very first teachings that he put out into the world. And I think that will help us as we go out into 2015. We want a better 2015 than 14, don't we?
Yeah.
2014 was interesting. So would we love to be able to say 2015 was fabulous? Okay, so...
14 was pretty good too.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay. When Jesus was a young man, he was with the Brahmic faith. And one of the first things, when he found his voice, and we know he's between 16 and 24. We don't know his exact age. So he's finding his voice as he's being taught by all these wise men of the day. And in the Brahmic faith, there was separation based on caste. The farmers, the priests, the sudras. And he spoke to the leaders that were housing him and taking care of him. And he said that the Holy One, to the Holy One all are his children. Every soul is child of God. And one day the sudras shall be as free as the priest, and the farmer shall walk hand in hand with the king. For all the world will own the brotherhood of man. So the first thing that he does as a young man is he begins to teach that the limitations and the separation that we have put upon one another just by virtue of our outward position needs to be erased. Do you think that we've done a pretty good job with that? I think we're doing better. Progress. We have much progress. Then he begins to talk to the people, the sudras, the farmers, the rich people who are outside of the priest system. They're more open-minded. He begins to have a great following. And at one of the great events where he's teaching, among all the people, there are no limitations of caste. Everyone is welcome. He finds himself in a great feast, and there are thieves, extortioners, and courtesans sitting, snugging right up next to him, saying, "Teach me too." And he taught. Then the people who followed him, all the people who said, "It's good not to be in a caste. We like what you're saying. We're going to follow you." They said to him, "Master, this day will be an evil day for you. The news will spread that you consort with courtesans and thieves, and men will shun you as they shun an asp." So even though they could be free from being discriminated against through their caste, they were not free to stop discriminating people who did not meet their moral standards. Do you see? And they were very concerned that no one's going to follow you because you're talking to these wicked, evil people. And of course Jesus said, "Didn't bother me." He said, God and the master men judge men by what they are, not by what they seem to be, not by their reputation or their fame. These courtesans and thieves are children of my Father God, and their souls are just as precious in his sight as yours, or the Brahmic priests. They are working out the same sums that you are, They've taken on the same issues of life that you've taken on. You who pride yourselves on your respectability and moral worth. And some of them have solved much harder sums than you have solved, you men who look at them with scorn. They have taken on in their life work greater things to learn and accomplish, as much as you have. And some of them are exceeding far greater than you are. And he said, they are sinners and confess their guilt, while you are guilty, but you're shrewd enough to cover it up with a polished coat. Suppose you men who scorn these courtesans and the drunkards and thieves, who know that you are pure in heart and life, that you are far better than they, stand forth and show men who you truly are. The sin lies in the wish and in the desire, not in the act. You covet, you practice deceit daily, you wish for gold, and the man who covets is a thief, and she who lusts is courtesan. And he said, for all of you who are not these things, speak up. And nobody did. Then he said, the man who spends his time in pulling other people's weeds can have no time to pull his own, and soon the choicest flowers of life will be choked and die. Pretty heavy, huh? Energetically, I think this touches one of the greatest issues that we still have as a people. We still look with moral eyes at the world. And what is morality? Morality is a perceived sense of right. If you study history, and I don't, but if you just dabble in it and look at it periodically, the morals of countries shift and change based on the leadership, based on the religions. You know, what we morally deem good today was not good years ago. Christmas was actually outlawed in Massachusetts in the 1600s. Did you know that? It was against the law. So therefore, if you celebrated it, you would be morally not in good standing and subject to the punitive energy. How much of our perception of the world around us still has that moral base to it? When you are putting your moral perceptions on any other person, you are judging them. And when you judge, you are attaching to them. Think about it. The choices of every single person are theirs. And if we're going to free people to make their choices, we need to free them. We need to do what's right for our soul, but not what's right morally. If we could take an eraser and erase all the morals that we were taught as children, what do you think we'd be? You think we'd be scared and frightened because we don't know how to act? We might. We might. It's so deep within us. It is so deep within us. Letting the Christ shine. When we lapse into any of these actions, what's happening to the flower within us? That beautiful energy that wants to express is now focused on clearing out somebody else's garden. See? And we can't tend our own. So, in one part, in 119, he says this, which I love, it's beautiful. They're arguing with him about certain things. And he says, the conscious may be taught, you're conscious. One man may do in conscience what another man cannot do. What is sin for me to do may not be sin for you to do. The place you occupy upon the way of life determines what sin is. There are no changeless laws of good, for good and evil both are judged by other things. One man may fast, and in his deep sincerity of heart is blessed, and another man may fast, and in the faithlessness of such a task imposed is cursed. You cannot make a bed to fit the form of every man. If you can make a bed to fit yourself, you have done well. Energy. Energy. How many of us really understand energy? We understand love, we understand the feeling and the vibration. But when we go back into the world and we go back into our businesses and we go back into our work, we fall into a perception that is morally based, that is socially acceptable, rather than looking at the energy of our brothers and sisters. Does that make sense? So, keeping the Christ light shining, when we move into those lower frequencies, those prejudged frequencies. It actually dims that light within our hearts. We need to move from morality to energy, from human to divine. And I wanted to share what he says when he starts working in his own kingdom, when he was baptized by John and began to work with his own people. He's talking about the way being very broad, and everyone comes into the path to the kingdom. The nearer to the kingdom gate you get, the more spacious is the room because the multitudes have gone. If men could come into the kingdom, meaning into the spiritual awareness of God, if men could come into the kingdom with their carnal thoughts, their passions and desires, there would scarcely be room for everybody. But they cannot make it through the narrow gate, and they turn away. The few are ready to go in and see the king. He said, "Behold, thousands come to hear the wild man of the hills," which was John the Baptist. "They come in crowds that he may wash them in the crystal flood, and with their lips they do confess their sins. But when the morrow comes, we find them in their haunts of vice again, reviling John and cursing God and heaping insults on the king." Breathe. Everybody's like, stop breathing. "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see the king, and blessed are the strong in heart, for they shall not be cast about by every wind that blows." How is he going to teach energy? How does Jesus teach energy? How is he going to teach energy to people who cannot see it and to people who are stuck in their own moral judgments of society? So he teaches it through the parables, the symbolism. You know, the way to God, the way to your own spiritual awakening is through your walking toward it, through your beginning to vibrate in harmony with it. If you're harboring anger or anything, do you know what you feel like when you're angry? And have you ever prayed in that state? And does it sound like, "God, I can't feel you right now"? And your teeth are gritted so hard, and you cannot feel. And I know you're going to help me. Dang it. And then we speak our piece. At least it's good that we are trying to pray. But how accessible are you to the vibration of God love in that moment? Do you understand? How can we really understand we're energy beings if we cannot become aware of what thoughts we're putting out? So I believe that Jesus used these beautiful examples to show people that the thoughts you're holding are keeping you from the thing you desire. You come to John, you say you want this, you go home, you party on, keep doing what you've always done, and then complain to God about it. Instead of trying what John said to do. Do you understand? Trying to maintain the feeling of the heightened consciousness that you felt when you were in John's presence. So, energy. We cannot keep having the old thoughts and housing them and expect different results. When we know we are spirit, there is a purpose for everything. When you know your spirit, there is a purpose for everything. What if, guys, we could see energy? How fun would that be? You couldn't hide anything. You'd walk in and they wouldn't say, "How you doing?" They'd say, "Oh, really? You're having a hard time with that?" You have to say a word. You couldn't lie. Everything would be visible in your field. People would go, "Oh, Cindy, having a bad day. I'll be over here." You know? You wonder why you repel people. The little cloud going on. You wonder why people run to you. "Give me a hug," because you're shining your light. You're shining your light. Blessed are those that sit on the front row. Marlo Morgan, who traveled with the Aborigine in Australia, said they do mind talking. And she didn't realize they were actually having conversations as a group as they were walking. But they talk because they don't lie. So that communication is instant between the whole group. Everybody hears everybody's thoughts. And they explained to her that you and Americans will never learn this because you have layers of thoughts that you let people see and layers that you do not. When we start really dealing with energy and start understanding energy, there's a great sense of responsibility that comes with that. You know, the only energy that we see now, the only evidence we see of our thoughts is of the world around us, our effects. We can know what we're thinking by what is happening to us. And if we go back into the moralistic thought, okay, nobody likes me today. Okay, now I'm going back to my moralistic thought of my childhood. I'm now a victim. These people are bad. Blah, blah, blah. If I come into my energy thought, oh, nobody likes me today. Ooh, what have I been thinking? What have I been putting out there? Oh, perhaps I've been telling everybody to stay away from me. And they go, okay. Do you see the great responsibility? How do we teach energy today? How do we really let people understand the responsibilities of their own thoughts in their energy field? Your Christ, when you are letting your light shine, it goes beyond just being kind and generous. It goes into thinking God. It goes into being God. It goes into being love. And when I was young, I was probably 32, a baby. And I was working, trying to, single mom, trying to get over how do I be a single mom, how do I make my way in the world, how do I feed this baby. And I remember talking to God one day, and I said, I've seen auras pretty much all my life, off and on. If I focus, I can see it, And I said, God, why? Why don't you just let me see auras all the time? Why do I have to focus and work for it? And one day, after I asked this, I went to work, and I was in corporate, and I was seeing everybody's auras. And so this girl's sitting next to me, and she's talking really seriously about this issue in her file that she needs taken care of, and I'm looking at this pink thing floating around her left side and going, okay, you got some issues you're working on there. And by the midway through the day, probably not even to the end, I said, I get it, God. As I can see the energy field of everybody else, my focus goes to their problems. And it's totally off of me. It's totally off of, I got a baby to feed, I got to figure out how to do this, I got to figure out how to do that, and I got to figure out how to Christ in the process. Because I was meditating every day. I was really doing my spiritual work as well. Do you see? I said, okay, I got it. Maybe I don't want to see your energy field. But I want to see mine. I want to see my own. Is Juanita here today? Juanita wrote a beautiful book for children called The Treebles. And it's about these little imaginary creatures. And it's a beautiful book for children because it talks about how their wings, actually change in texture based on how they're feeling. So you get grumpy, they get different. If you're happy, they're fluffy. So it is a beautiful visual of how it would be in a world where honesty has to dictate. You cannot not be honest. You cannot not be honest about how you're feeling and who you are. We have it in the bookstore if anybody's interested. If we are the Christ, and we want to let our light, our Christ light shine, we want to let our Christ light shine, we need to begin to keep the light that we know we are focused, and we need to accept that we are spirit. We are spirit awakening. When we know we are spirit, when we know we are the Christ, everything has a purpose. When we know we are spirit and we know we are the Christ and we see someone in the world doing something that morality would dictate is unpleasant, we cannot go there. We can say, I do not want to play with them right now, but I trust that they're in their right and perfect place. I trust that they are learning what they need to learn. I don't need to join them in that lesson because my plate is really full. I still don't have complete harmony around me. I'm still not fulfilling the dreams to the highest level that I want to. So I got work to do. Do you understand? Everything that Jesus taught was to wake us up to energy. To wake us up to realize we are creating, we have choice. As we put down anything that keeps the flow from moving. And this is the thing. Morality, good, bad, doesn't matter. Flow, blockage. That's our thing. Flow, blockage. Am I being blocked? And you know when you're being blocked, you know what it feels like. I'm being blocked here. The minute you feel that, edit yourself. Find out why. Change something. Flow is health. Blockage creates disease and disconnection. You know, the masters teach in Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East that most of us are not taught how to exit the planet. So we literally take our physical vehicle and we make discordant energy within the vehicle to block it. And then it literally pushes the spirit out at death. Because we're blocking so there's no longer flow. If we flowed, and we flowed, we could walk over whenever we wanted. I'm checking out now. Just going to step over tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow. You see? Let the Christ light shine. If I know I am spirit, then I am okay with where I'm standing. Because it is a moment for me to be the light. Everything I see I can change. I am eternal, it is not. I am eternal, it is not. Jesus Christ came to wake us up to the fact that we are eternal. And this is not. So I know you're asking me. I hear you. So what's my first step? We know definitely the difference between our brain and our hearts. The brain is that logic. It's that the files are all assembled. Everything is trying to organize itself so that we can live protected and productive and whatever. Our heart is the beautiful knowing that goes beyond the brain. When you feel the brain needing to prove something via logic, stop. Because the only logic you're going to apply is what you already know. It's your logic. It's nobody else's logic. Stop. And come back into the feeling nature of your heart. Take a moment, take a breath, and then let your light shine. Don't judge yourself. Don't hit yourself with morals. Don't hit yourself with expectations. When you go into that logic center, stop. And come back into the knowing. And just breathe. And let it go. You have just deferred your choice to your spirit. You just let your spirit choose. Too complicated?
Can you say one more time?
Okay. Our brain tells us what we think we need to do based on what we've done. It just is this beautiful computer, but it's programmed. And it is a decoder. It can decode and give us language and stuff. But when we go to look there only, we're only going to reproduce the past. And if we find ourselves there feeling stuck, feeling like we're out of our own energy, trying to let the mind guide, just stop and go into the heart of knowing. And just feel, I'm a child of God, today is great. What do I need to do? I need to make a decision maybe? Maybe I don't. I'm a child of God, I'm eternal. I'm beyond the logic I currently hold. I'm beyond the data in my files. I am. And just take a breath and let your light shine. Just be that. Just be that God being for 1 minute. And now the connection with God is created. So a greater guidance can be received. A new step can be taken. Something that you wouldn't have in your brain can be accessed. That make it simple? Mm-hmm. We are so fabulous. We are so fabulous. And when you look at the teachings that Jesus brought, even before he taught them, God is your Father, the healings, I can teach you how to do the healing work, let me show you how to do these things. They had to let go these compartments in their brains about people and the world. Now this service was supposed to be very light and fun. I hope you can feel an opportunity to do something different. An opportunity to find a different path. Sounds hard, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Dang, you'd rather just like go back to your old house, just like in John, and revile John and say, okay, God, give me some more of what I've always gotten. It's easier. It's easier. But it's not as fun. Growing, experiencing, and expanding. That is the fun. That's where the joy of life is. So, letting the Christ light shine means you have to be in touch with the Christ light. If you're feeling blocked in any way, just look at your environment. What is the evidence showing you? Change something. Change something. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but what are you not to do when you change something? Please, please hear me. No morals. No judgment. Oh, I'm bad. Do you understand? No, I choose again. I choose again. The minute we go into that, do you hear me? We're out of energy. We're back into this. We're back into separation. Everything I've said to you is true.
Yeah, you got it.
And I can see your brains going, that's not logical. It's not in my files. It's true. It's true. So let's put some in the files, okay? Put your feet on the floor. In this joyful celebration this morning. Just breathe and feel that beautiful love of God come over you now. And I want you to feel a column of light and feel energy, the perfect color for you, whatever color it is. Just come through this column of light. Pink, green, orange, whatever color you need. Has everybody got a color?
Yeah.
Everybody doing this? Breathe the color into your heart. And feel God love within you. God is in my heart. In your mind's eye, look at your feet. See where you stand. Just see your feet. Let your focus go back to the energy that's moving through you. I am perfect right where I am. Is it hard for you to say that? I am perfect right where I am. Now let's take a breath and let's breathe in that beautiful color and let's send it out through our arc field, through all of our thoughts, beliefs, emotions, past, present, future. Just send the color that's being given to you now into all that you are in this world. Thoughts, body, belief, emotions, spirit. Can you feel a sense of balance occurring? Focus back on your feet. Right where I stand, I am perfect. And now let your focus go back to your heart. Feel that beautiful love of God. And as you feel it, feel the eternity in it. I do not remember when I was not. I cannot fathom. I will never be. I am one with God in His heart, eternal. Now consciously let that beautiful Christ that you are shine. Let it move out into this field, into your arc field, out through your body. You've taken in the love of God. Now let that love you are shine through. Father, Mother God, I ask that you bless each one. Let them truly begin to feel their own energy, the beautiful, powerful, creative life force that goes through them. Let them feel they are in charge. They are the chooser. And they are your child. There is nothing that cannot be uncreated, refined, or done. And let them feel peace. Take a breath and breathe in a beautiful green light of peace. Let it move through your body. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Now you know how to keep Christmas alive. And that is by honoring that Christ moment. And it is easy. Yes?
Yes.
Yea, God.